Welcome back to Beyond the White Coat. I'm your host, Dr. Zwade Marshall, anesthesiologist, entrepreneur, and co-founder of Doc to Doc Lending. This podcast, I'll remind you, is really built on a simple belief. Medicine can be meaningful without being all-consuming. And for generations of physicians, we were taught that the path was pretty linear. Work harder, take more call, delay gratification, and eventually the rewards will show up. But more and more doctors are asking a different question. What happens when we stop asking, how do I work harder? And start asking, how do I buy my time back? Today's conversation is about that shift. I'm really excited about this episode, guys, because I'm joined by two friends, Dr. Letizia Alto and Dr. Kenji Asakura, co-founders of SemiRetiredMD. They both started this amazing platform. They're physicians, they're educators, they're community builders who've helped thousands of doctors rethink what financial independence and lifestyle autonomy can look like. And full disclosure, Kenton and I are both actually alumni of their course. So this isn't just a professional relationship. It's a community that we've shared for years through conferences, conversations, and referrals. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us here. We're so excited to be with you and just love celebrating all your success too.
Thank you. So let's start with something a lot of doctors feel, but they rarely say out loud. So most physicians go through this phase early in their careers where they think this is what success is supposed to look like. You get that first paycheck, you buy that first car, you've worked extremely hard to go from there to here, but then somewhere along the way, something begins to feel off. Like you're doing financially well and you're helping patients, you checked all the boxes, and yet the question creeps in, is this sustainable? Or maybe even, is this really the end goal? Based upon what you've both built, I'm curious if that moment happened for you and when it did. When did you realize
Mm.
it?
That's such a good question. I'll answer for me. Of course, Kenji will answer his own question. I don't think I realized it had kind of come in, but what I felt was restless. Like I felt like there was something missing. Like I kind of was always keeping myself busy, doing things, doing more, and it was, I think, really to ignore this nagging question of purpose. And, I had grown up with a father who's a physician who was kind of a cowboy physician, family doc, and worked abroad. And I lived in Papua New Guinea. I grew up there and Pacific Islands. And it really, medicine was his all-consuming passion, I would say. And one thing that I noticed for me is it wasn't my all-consuming passion. And so I felt like there was something missing, but I didn't know exactly what it was. I can say now, where we are and the passion we have for what we do and how we serve our community. Now I can see that I was just not quite serving my purpose at that moment.
Sure.
But my goodness, I have to say it's like not like I had an aha moment. It was just a restlessness, and I wonder how many people have that, but they don't realize what's really going on because I didn't.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. For me too. I mean, I had a very a dad who was a doctor, very dedicated to what he was doing, loved it. Did was both a physician and also a researcher. And for me, it was a kind of a default path. But I was always kind of looking at other opportunities, even in college, right? Even when I was applying, I was thinking about business and I was thinking about consulting, and I ended up going into consulting somewhere in between internship and a second internship. I did 5 years at McKinsey and Company, and then went back into medicine, and then did some startups. And so I've always kind of gone back and forth. And so I think I've always had that a little bit of that nagging feeling of I think there's more out there, and looking for that, like, my purpose. And I wasn't really finding it in medicine personally. I know a lot of people do, but personally, I wasn't finding it in medicine. But now, like you said, I do feel like we have found our purpose, at least in this chapter of our lives.
Right, and that's probably one important thing to say is, your purpose can change over time too. I don't know that everybody has one singular purpose, but at this moment in our lives, this feels like such a phenomenal purpose, and I think both of us maybe didn't feel that way there for a while.
Well, I think our community is grateful for the fact that you've found that calling within this field of real estate investing and educating doctors to do it. before we get into the actual programming, do you practice medicine still? What is your clinical split between medical practice and this amazing platform that you've built?
Mm. Yeah, we stopped in late 2020, actually. We moved to Puerto Rico in, I guess it was 2020, early 2022. But in late 2020, it was COVID, as you guys remember,
Right.
and I was pregnant. We had 6 employees. I'm CEO of Semi-Retired. So I had 6 employees, and I was literally going to work, doing my, 7 to 7, coming home, cooking, pregnant, like COVID, no vaccines yet, and then 6 employees messaging me throughout the day, and I was like, "What am I doing?" Because 'Cause we'd been financially free for a number of years at that point, and I just continued to work in medicine because I enjoyed it.
Sure.
Um, but at that point, I was like, "This is kinda crazy, like, we're working way too hard, and when we don't necessarily need to, something's gotta give." And the question became, where do we get the biggest purpose? And for me at that moment, it was truly semi-retired MD was filling me up in a different level than going to the hospital and doing one-on-one patient care. And that's ultimately what made the decision. But it wasn't something we were trying to get away from or anything like
Sure.
that. Like I enjoyed medicine, but it didn't make sense anymore to do all of that.
Yeah, I think for me, I think I'd done enough for
Oh
so
yeah, he retired very early. He became real estate professional, stay-at-home dad, but I wanted to keep working full time. So
yeah,
it was just a different dynamic. I'm 9 years younger, and so and had come out of divorce, and I was like, I'm not losing the ability to earn my own income from medicine.
Fair.
And so it was just a different philosophy. I think a different stage of life for me too.
yeah, I'd been practicing for a number of years, and so I think that for those who don't know, if you cut back on medicine and you focus on real estate, you can create these amazing tax benefits, and so that it really made sense for me, having been in clinical practice for a number of years, more than Leti. And Leti was just like getting out and starting her job as a hospitalist, and so it made more sense for her to kind of continue as a hospitalist, and for me to become a real estate professional and focus on real estate investing and creating those really great tax benefits for
And he
us.
wanted to be a stay-at-home dad, and I did not.
Right. Right.
That's really cool. It's certainly not the norm that we see, and it's really refreshing to see this dynamic here play out in reality. So
I
let's
have to tell you, a funny thing is, like,
Yeah.
I would come home and he'd be like, "I organized all the CDs," and he would be so excited. I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm glad that made you very
That's amazing. And so, like, who do the kids go to now that you're both retired from medicine? Like, does because of the head start that Kenji had, is he the default? Like, I'm hurt, I need nurturing, I need a hug. Is it daddy or is it mommy time?
No, we're both, like,
Mhm.
different we're just different people, and so they go to each of us for different things completely, and,
Mhm.
I think one of the beautiful things we've luckily cultivated is we're both active participants in everything we do. We both run the business, we both, are creating content, we're both active in our travel, in our real estate, in our with our kids. In a lot of places, one of us will take the lead. Kenji does our taxes, right? I run our travel schedule. There are things like that that one of us takes the lead, but both of us are very, very active in everything that we do, and it's a really cool partnership because it allows for both of us to be competent in these things. I think really rare. I think a lot of times people kind of build their own worlds. We just haven't done that. We haven't wanted that.
Yeah, and I think the other gift from all this is we have been able to be home, right? And we're home with our kids all the time. So I think at this point, it's probably evened out in the sense that, yeah, you're right. The first several years with one of our children, I was there all the time. But I would in between my real estate, I would actually take our daughter to see,
Breastfeed, yeah,
to
because
see
she wouldn't
Leti.
take a bottle. So
Yeah,
he would,
right.
like, come up, hang up in the hospital, work on the computer, and see and I would just drop in,
Yeah.
in between patients a couple times a day, and so
Yeah. So
we
we were
just
both always, yeah, present with our kids.
we've just always figured out it's always imbalance. We don't think of it in terms of work-life balance. What we think of it is imbalance, and if something's no longer working, you shift. And so
Sure.
it allows that kind of dynamicism dynamicism. I don't know.
Dynamic.
That works. That works. Yep.
Where things can change. Even moving here to Puerto Rico, we said, hey, let's go do it for a couple of years. And when it no longer works, we'll move.
Mhm.
And so we're
Has been
not
working.
stuck in a way of having to have it.
Yeah. Sure. Hearing you guys talk in this yin and yang makes me wish my wife is on here as well, because there's so much similarity here. She's a health tech lawyer. Recently launched a kind of a brand that does elevated experiences, especially for women.
Oh, cool.
And so she's been doing some things with me, but we too have a daughter who would not take a bottle. And it's funny how like that personality of like just being so sure of what her wants are, that now like she's a young girl with the same personality. Like you
Hmm.
can't make Nyla do anything she doesn't want to do. She
Yep.
knows what she wants, and anything her parents say is a suggestion because she
Hmm.
knows best.
Yep. We have that in our oldest.
So let's transition a bit to this real estate platform that you've built, this community that you've put together, that I'm a part of as well. And thanks to the inspiration from the Zero to Freedom course, my wife and I have a small portfolio of residential real estate investment properties in Memphis and Illinois, and then one commercial building, and then a couple overseas. And what kind of drew me to the concept was using the income that I had that was disposable after we did, because we'll maximize our 401k, we'll do the Roth IRA, we'll do all the things that you're supposed to do. And there's still some money left over. And we're all aspiring to be Leti and Kenji, to have like financial freedom. And we've heard that real estate's a thing that you can do to get there. And there's tax mitigation with it. But it seems so daunting to figure out how to finance it, how to do the fix and flip, how to assess the market, how much should I pay, who are the tenants going to be, do I manage it myself, what's this real estate professional status? Like these are all like item by item elements of your courses that doctors leave feeling fully confident in their ability because you give us the tools to do it. Tell us more about why real estate and how this community began. What's the origin story there?
So why real estate? It's the returns, at least for us. So when we sat down and we said, okay, we had this vision for what we wanted to do. So we were both working more than full time. I was a hospitalist. I was doing OB shifts because I didn't want to lose my OB skills. Kenji was a hospitalist, and then he had a startup on the side. And we said, okay, we have this vision where we get to go to Europe, we get to go to Italy, we get to spend months at a time, and get to have our family and our kids raised in a way that they could hear about other people doing interesting things. And then we have community, and they're staying with us for periods of time in our home. If we're going to do that, what's the key? And what we realized is we had to stop trading time for money, because we were never going to have months off at a time, and
Sure.
we were always going to have a cap in the amount of income we could produce. And so we read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's how we said, okay, real estate. And Kenji had been investing in real estate since 2001, and he had luckily had a couple cash flowing properties. He also had a lot of appreciation plays that kind of went down in 2008. So he had some tough lessons that he learned about cash flow being key and not playing the appreciation game. And
Sure.
so when we sat down and we said, okay, we got to create another source of income, let's do it through real estate. The reason we chose real estate was, number one, tangible asset. There's a lot to learn, of course, but it's not med school hard. It's not that hard to learn. There's really some basics. It's been around for a long period of time that people have been renting properties. So tangible asset produces cash flow, every single month if you buy it right. And there aren't that many things. Like, you can invest in the stock market, maybe you get a little bit of dividends, but you're not going to get that reliable cash flow in a way that you can from real estate. Tax savings, which really isn't available anywhere else. I mean, you can have tax savings if you do a startup, but it's still not as good as the tax savings in real estate because of depreciation and the ability to write off part of the property as a loss every year, even if it's gaining valuation.
Yep.
Control. For us, we wanted to control our financial future. Our goal was fast fire, get to financial freedom as fast as possible. We originally set the goal of doing it in 7 years. We did it faster than that. But what we wanted to do is that we had that clear vision of like, we want time off. We want to see our kids grow up. We want to spend more time together. That was one of our motivators because we were seeing each other so infrequently with the week on, week off and all the other things we had going on.
Mm.
And so we said, okay, control returns. The returns, by the way, if you do it the right way, can be so much higher than you get in the stock market. So that's how you can fast fire the tax savings and then a tangible asset that we could understand. And then finally, I have to say risk. I mean, you've done a startup. Startups are risky. There's a lot of work that goes into them and you don't know if it's going to turn into anything. When you buy a building with real estate, it's like you're buying a business that's already running. It's already a tangible asset too. It's got a building, it's got land, so it's not going to go to zero valuation. So and there's already people who are trained up to help you, property managers, contractors who know
Yep.
how to do their jobs.
Yep.
There's already customers. People need homes. So like it's the easiest type of business that you can have with the lowest risk. So I think it was a combination of all of those things that really made it feel approachable to us compared to a lot of other things. And that's really why we chose it.
Yeah, I was going to just add to that, maybe kind of simplify it a little bit. There was a lot there, which is awesome. But I think if I were to kind of simplify it, I just think of it in terms of how do you build wealth quickly, right? And I think there are really two main paths. One is buy real estate, right? Own those assets, or start a business, right? Which is, and you're doing both, which is awesome. But what's cool about real estate is that, you can be doing whatever it is you're doing, startup, being a physician, and you could do it on the side. I mean, you're proof of that, right? Is that you're,
Sure.
CEO of a startup and you're doing all this amazing things, growing your business. But at the same time, on the side, you also have all these assets that you're buying, right? And so it's just a great way and if you can do both, right, you can really turbocharge things, I think, right? Both the business as well as real estate. But for busy doctors, I think real estate is a really great something that you can do on the side. It's not very difficult. As Leti said, it's not med school hard. And it's a way for you to grow wealth quickly.
I love the way you guys speak and educate. Like, it's clear that you guys are educators, right? It's very clarifying how you put the thoughts together, and you touched on a number of topics there. Like, yes, I am an entrepreneur, a startup owner, and then also a clinician. And I tell you this though, I'm burning it at both ends, and so your life is the aspirational lifestyle for so many of us, where there's this goal to be in a position to be financially free, sure, but also to get your time back and to spend time with the loved ones who you're sacrificing for. And I'm not yet there. And so I think that there's so many of our listening audience that really do believe that they can make an impact and have purpose outside of clinical medicine. They may want to do some of it sometimes, but they also want to feel like they're getting their time and energy back, because it can be so depleting when you have the emotional toll with the physical toll of the job. Losing patients, the sadness, and then pouring into people requires a lot out of us. So I want to touch on a couple of things that you said just briefly before we get to the close. When doctors develop income streams outside of medicine, something different begins to happen, like psychologically. The optionality, which goal for many of us, certainly brings a level of calm and freedom for them, right? And I know you say it's Zero to Freedom course that you guys host. Tell us what you see in your graduates. What is the goal at the beginning for many of them? Are they like me, where they're trying to get to a place of balance and using real estate as a way to get there? Or do they have other goals? And how do you define success as platform owners that's helping to educate folks about getting into real estate?
Yeah, I think when people come to our course, initially, a lot of them are looking for something, right? They want to kind of hold on to something that will create that freedom in their lives, right?
Or tax savings.
Right. And yeah, tax. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of them do come for the tax savings, but I think if you kind of underneath that, right, is maybe it's a pain of taxes, but it's also I think something that our mentor says. to us. He says, real freedom is when you go from have to get to, right? And so you get to practice clinically, right? It's life
Sure.
on your terms, right? Is that you get to control. And I think it's that loss of control is what a lot of people are feeling. And so I think when people come in, they're like really trying to get that control back in their lives. And they truly do, as you said, like once they start to see that the optionality is there, even if they haven't achieved it, there is this moment of freedom, like this like realization, like, wow, I now have the knowledge and the skills. I haven't done it yet, but this is really amazing. Like I can see this path to creating freedom. And that in itself is truly empowering for a lot of our students. And then of course they go on to do that. But that's that moment where they kind of realize like, wow, I can do this. They realize actually there's a long list of things you said that they're learning. Once they realize like, oh, I get this. This isn't med school hard.
Right.
That's when they have that freedom moment.
Yeah, yeah. And he's talking really about understanding how to make money with real estate and the strategy. But I also have to say, part of what we do is mindset work, right? Because that mindset work is so important to having freedom in a different way, a freedom to understand that you control the thoughts that you have, you control the meanings that you give things, and the thoughts lead to the feelings, lead to the actions, lead to the results. And so there's some freedom even from having the mindset work in module 1, right, of the course, where you start to realize that you control your whole filter on the world. And the circumstances don't even need to change for you to have a different experience of your life.
Hmm. Tell us about how do we get a hold of you guys in the course? I've alluded to it a couple of times now, but give us some more direction on what do we do to get there?
Yeah, you can find us at SemiRetiredMD.com. And as Zwade mentioned, we have a course called Zero to Freedom, which teaches you to go from knowing nothing about real estate through buying your first property. And then people stay with us long term in our membership, Empire Builders. And then we have people going bigger and buying large multifamily properties and partnering and things like that in our mastermind EB Pro. Kenji and I also have Fast Fire Capital, which is our capital raising business where we go out and we raise and are able to buy large multifamily properties and produce passive income for our investors. And we also actually invest in startups through that too, because we love investing in early stage startups and higher risk, of course, but it's really beautiful when you can support that and support and see the impact that a startup can have in the world and ideally make a really great return from that as well. And then lastly, I have Viara, which is my female physician entrepreneurship business that's really aimed at helping female doctors build and grow and scale their businesses and make changes in the world. Because again, real estate does that. When you have that financial freedom, transforms your life. But also, one of the things that I think we're very proud of is our people are incredible landlords. They take care of their tenants. They actually care. They're taking care of their properties and creating safe and awesome living spaces for their tenants. And that also happens through Biara, where the women have such impact through the clinics or the other businesses that they're doing that they positively change the world. And that's, I think, the best thing about working with doctors is
Uh,
they're driven, of course, and they're goal oriented and they make things happen, but they really are driven by helping people
Impact.
and having
That's right.
impact. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's the best people to see succeed because when doctors get wealthy, when they get free, it's good for everybody.
that's right. What was the pain point that you were solving for when you started the the group for women? What's different about women entrepreneurs compared to the general market that you guys were already serving?
Um, I was solving the pain point of us not having the education as CEOs. I think that, a lot of people go get MBAs or whatever. And even then, I don't know how much the training is to be a CEO. But, having been an entrepreneur now since 2012, I've actually helped build and scale and grow 6 multi-million-dollar businesses. So the level of training that I've had the opportunity to get, the amount I invest in my own education, Kenji and I together, we invest multiple 6 figures a year in our own education every single year. We've been doing that since 2019.
Huh.
The opportunities I've had to learn from some of the best, I really wanted to pass that on. There's no greater joy then seeing somebody, again, the transformation and the
Right.
empowerment that they have when they learn these skill sets and then they can use them. We love to teach people to fish for themselves so that they can go create the changes in their lives so they don't rely on anybody else, so they truly are free. And BR is just an extension of that for us, is helping women entrepreneurs be able to have that impact and have that freedom that comes from knowing they have the skill sets to grow their businesses and grow them in a way that creates more profit, but also creates more ease in their lives.
That's incredible. My wife, who's on a similar journey as you're on, being her own entrepreneur, quoted a stat for me days ago that the average female entrepreneur jumps out on their own at 42 and becomes a millionaire at 48. And so there is this kind of gap where there's not enough education around the leadership of and the CEO talent, even though they make better CEOs, right? So you look at the companies that are outperforming in the Fortune 500, women are at the helm of most of them because of a number of factors. But kudos to you for being a thought leader in the space and helping to train all of us and the women in BR as well.
Thank
Uh,
you.
of course. Leti, Kenji, this has been a powerful conversation. Thank you so much for the time. I think if there were a through line here, it'd be that medicine is an incredible foundation. It's not med school hard, as you said, but that foundation doesn't have to lead to you being stuck in a prison. Community accelerates what we believe is possible, and you guys are doing exactly that. And it's a catalyst for freedom, as you said. So thank you for Semi-Retired MD. I'll be placing in the show notes a link to Semi-Retired MD guys. And so you can see their courses, the masterminds, Biara, and all the different things that they're doing. And please continue to listen in to Beyond the White Coat. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.